Hello, this is Katie Wells, and today I will be discussing Abraham Lincoln's speech on the Dred Scott decision given on June 26th of 1857. Some important people to note is 1. Abraham Lincoln, who at the time was in contest with Stephen Douglas for the Illinois Senate seat. 2. Stephen Douglas, more commonly referred to as Judge Douglas, Lincoln's competition for the Senate seat. 3rd, and most important, Dred Scott, a former slave who fought for his emancipation, his court case making history and setting precedents. The court's decision on the case caused outrage and led influential people like Lincoln to speak in opposition to the ruling. Lastly, Judge Robert B. Taney. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court that ruled over Dred Scott's case. Lincoln's speech addressed 3 main points. 1. Utah. 2. Kansas. 3. Dred Scott. The time period these events took place was from 1856 to 1860. Different places to take note of are as follows. 1. St. Louis, the state where Scott first filed his case. 2. Illinois, the state Lincoln and Douglas fought for the Senate. Lastly, the Supreme Court, where the famous case took place. The court is in today's Capitol building. Several factors came into play why such a speech was given. 1. Lincoln's outrage towards the case and the adverse effects of the case. 2. The history-making decision that affected African Americans and the lifelong precedents it would set if the case decision were not to be reversed. And lastly, elections played a role in the speech due to the fact that Lincoln was running for a Senate seat. The speech would also affect Lincoln in the future when he would run for president. Lincoln began by discussing Utah. Lincoln briefly touched on how Douglas wanted to add Utah as a state for judicial reasons, but Lincoln questioned what Douglas thought about Utah's acceptance of polygamy and why he wouldn't address it. Lincoln states, "If it proved to be true, and is probable, that the people of Utah are in open rebellion to the United States, then Judge Douglas is in favor of repealing their territorial organization and attaching them to the adjoining states for judicial purposes." Lincoln says that democracy will pay for the addition of Utah. Lincoln then goes on to say, "If the people of Utah shall peacefully form a state constitution tolerating polygamy, will the democracy admit them into the Union?" Lincoln then moves on to Kansas. Lincoln said that only 1/6 of the registered voters voted, and things were not adding up. Lincoln states, "The returns received here as yet are very incomplete, but so far as they go, they indicate that only about 1/6 of the registered voters have really voted." The situation with Kansas caused Lincoln to question Kansas's statehood and the idea of popular sovereignty. Lastly, and most importantly, Lincoln discussed Dred Scott and the court's decision. Lincoln said that the decision from the court made 2 things clear. 1. People of color could not sue in the U.S. court, and if they would have no chance of winning. As soon as the court ruled in favor of Sanford, all hope for people wishing for emancipation was lost. 2. Congress could not prohibit slavery in territories. Congress gave their power to the Supreme Court as soon as Taney let the court rule in the way they did. Lincoln made a point to mention the job of the Supreme Court. The job of the court was to look at similar cases and compare them to ones that come in. Lincoln had a deep disapproval for the court and their decision. He disapproved of the following things. 1. The court acted like a legislator. The court had no power to do that. The court was supposed to look at the past and not the future. 2. The court thought the precedent could not be overturned. Lincoln made a point that just because a precedent is set, it doesn't mean it can't be overturned. Lincoln did not want the court to go in and change the ruling. He was rather providing an opposition. Lastly, Judge Taney lied. He put his personal opinions over the case. Taney wanted the world to be in the way he ruled. He tried to set a precedent The only thing it showed was the court exceeding its power and needing to be checked. Lincoln makes the last point clear and wants to be known. Unless everyone is on board and is clear with the precedent, then it's not a precedent. Lincoln went on to discuss his interpretation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Lincoln believed that all men were created equal to an extent. Lincoln didn't believe that men were equal in color, size, intellect, moral developments, or social capacity. Rather, they were only equal in inalienable rights. All men are equal to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Lincoln says the following: "They did not mean to say all were equal in color, size, intellect, moral developments, or social capacity. They defined with a tolerable distinctness in what respects they did consider all men created equal in certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Lincoln continued and shared his thoughts on slavery. Lincoln said that to stop slavery from spreading, interracial marriages needed to be outlawed. He also said the people who wanted slavery wanted races to mix, thus meaning those same people wanted slavery to expand. He also said if slavery were to expand, there would be more rape. Finally, Lincoln suggested that if slavery were to be abolished, the best way of handling the abolishment is to set up a colony in Africa for the people to return to. Lincoln states the following in his address: "Such separate, if ever effected at all, must be effected by colonization. Transfer the African to his native clime, and we shall find a way to do it, however great the task may be." Lincoln's speech had several outcomes. 1. Lincoln lost the Senate seat to Douglas. 2. Dred Scott's case decision divided the Democratic Party, which led to the interesting election of 1860 and the weird outcomes. Lincoln won, and in no time flat, the South secedes from the Union, and we were off to war. Lastly, here are my sources. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.